हरि ओम। ओम श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः। ओम समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। हरि ओम। परम पूज्य गुरुजी Swami Tejomayananda ji has contributed Indian insights into management, this book, by writing 6 articles in this. So, reading of those. In this 4th article, page number 19, Holistic Management. All management boils down to the management of man. We may know many theories of management, but without values, they have no value. In both compromise and the sacrifice, a person has to renounce something. Without giving up the lower, you cannot get the higher. In compromise, man gives up higher values and ideals for lower gains. In sacrifice, he gives up lower things for the higher. Management implies many factors: a manager, the resource to be managed, the goal to be achieved, and the methods to be employed. The manager. It is very clear that the manager has to be a human being, because a machine doesn't manage things by itself. A human being has to install the machine. First of all, a manager has to learn to manage himself. Only then he can manage others. He has to have a good value system from where he can draw his strength and function efficiently. Resources to be managed. All the things to be managed fall under 3 categories: man, materials, and money. Without building up and managing monetary resources, we cannot function successfully. The materials to be managed may vary. In business, the material will depend on the kind of product to be generated. In educational institutions, it is of an entirely different kind. In a household, it is different still. A renowned professor of management told me that ultimately all management boils down to the management of man, and there are only 2 types of men: those who have difficulties and those who are difficult. It is perhaps easier to manage people who are difficult because you already know they are difficult. The goal to be achieved. A person has to manage the resources for a particular purpose. The goals may vary depending on whether he is managing a household, an institution, a political party, and so on. However, the wider goal has to be kept in mind. If the people for whose happiness and welfare we claim to function are themselves exploited or made miserable, it defeats the very purpose. These days we talk about industrialization, globalization, liberalization, and so on. But in the process, all the nations are reduced to the state of markets only, either a good market or a potential market. Most people are reduced to the status of consumers only to be exploited. Methods of management. These days we hear of many systems of management, like the American model, the Japanese model, the Indian model, the Eastern model, Indian ethos, and so on. There are many systems, but I don't think any system is foolproof. Foolproof. Yeah. The success or failure of the system ultimately depends on the person who is going to manage. In the political area, for example, a dictator may happen to be very democratic and benign, like Bhagavan Ramachandra, while democracy may see the emergence of great dictators. Sometimes, in a democratic system, the people elect their own persecutor. Values in management. We may know many theories of management, but without values, they have no value. We talk of value based management, value based business, value based politics. We know it all. The problem is that we do not implement it. We do not live our values. There is corruption everywhere. Even in religion, there are fake sannyasis. It has become a way of life. Now we call it cooperation, not corruption. All of us know in our heart of hearts that everything has to be value based, but there is always a feeling that it cannot be done. Some thought has to be given to this. There are four kinds of people: those who are unscrupulous and have no values at all, those who have values but are not able to live up to them, those who accept values but feel that it is not possible to practice them in today's world and so consider them irrelevant, and those who have wrong values in life. If one has no values at all, one's life will be valueless, and this type of life is not worth living. If one has the values but is not able to live up to that, the only thing one has to do is to become strong. And if a person has the wrong values, God help him. It is the third kind of person I am concerned about now, because his attitude is very insidious, insidious and dangerous. Are values really irrelevant today? It is true that nobody respects values. Is it true that nobody respects values? A little thinking shows that all of us respect values and respect only those people who respect values and are able to follow them. There is no doubt about it. The only problem with us is that we want to see these values in someone else. I may earn money by whatever means, fair or foul, but I want my accountant to be very honest, my servant to be honest, and my watchman to be honest. I may break the truth or speak the truth or not, but I want others to speak only the truth. But the power of truth is such that even when a person tells a lie, that person avers that he is telling the truth, because the lie, the untruth, has no face to show. It goes in the name of truth only. Another interesting thing we observe is that the mafia or the underworld doing dishonest business flourishes, because even in their dishonest business there is honesty. The business may be dishonest, but among themselves a perfect unwritten law prevails. Sharing of profits and money is done as per the law word given. One of the greatest assets in business is credibility. Once it is lost, everything is lost. You may cheat once, twice, but if your credibility is lost, you are finished. A businessman who was teaching his son said, "Son, in business, two things are very important. One is integrity, and the other wisdom. Integrity means that once you have given a commitment, a promise, you must fulfill that, even if you have to suffer a loss for it sometimes. Wisdom is to avoid giving any promise, making any commitment. Coming to the match fixing in cricket, for instance, did anyone like that? No. Why not? It is because there is something in us that revolts against such things. There is an innate sense of values in us. We may applaud a person for great achievements, but we respect a person only for what he is. What one has and what one is are totally different things. The great values of life never become irrelevant and ultimately they alone succeed. Thus, lasting success is achieved by hard work, honesty, loyalty, integrity. It is achieved by these values alone and not by anything else. Sacrifice versus compromise. There are two ways of living. One is called compromise and the other sacrifice. In both, a person has to renounce something. God has made life such that without renouncing you cannot live here. Inhaling is possible only when you exhale. If you say you don't exhale, you can't live. Without giving up the lower, you cannot get the higher. You cannot grow. In compromise, man gives up higher values and ideals for lower gains. In sacrifice, he gives up lower things for the higher. Renunciation Renunciation is involved in both. A man of compromises has never become an ideal anywhere in this world. Only a man of sacrifice becomes an ideal, a leader worthy of respect. This is a historical truth. So our thinking must be I have to renounce anyway, either this or that. What I am going to renounce. When I renounce my ideals, my values, it means I am selling myself, selling my soul. On the other hand, by refusing to compromise, I may suffer a little, undergo some hardships, and forego some comforts. So what? One has to pay a price for everything. So be it. Some people come to me in their old age, having retired from high positions, with all the comforts life can offer, but suffering from sleepless nights. There is a small thing called conscience. You go on shutting it up, but for how long? All those memories of past misdeeds are haunting them. The price has to be paid in this manner. In compromise, there will be immediate pleasure, no doubt, but pain follows in its wake. It is better to die once than die of guilt moment to moment. Only when that type of conviction comes is it possible to sacrifice. Holistic management. In holistic management, holistic means whole as well as holy. That is purifying. Holy is purifying. It includes all the factors discussed so far. Without this vision and without these values, no management can be successful. Doubting these values and thinking they are irrelevant is more dangerous than not having them at all. This world is very straightforward. Fire seems to say, touch me not, I am hot. If you touch me, you will be burnt. If you follow the rule itself will protect you. But if you don't, be ready for the consequences. Strangely enough, man is not afraid of committing sins. He is only afraid of being caught. He is not afraid of action. Rather, he is afraid of consequences. If you do not want the consequences, then why do you indulge in that action? There is a beautiful shloka in Sanskrit. पुण्यस्य फलमिच्छन्ति पुण्यं न नेच्छन्ति मानवाः न पापस्य फलमिच्छन्ति पापं कुर्वन्ति यत्नतः. People want the results of meritorious deeds like happiness and so on, but they do not want to do meritorious deeds. They do not want the consequences of sins, but they commit sins deliberately. Now the choice is yours. That is the beauty of human life. We can become devatas, divine beings, or we can become danavas, demons. Both are possible. If we want to be happy, there is no choice other than to follow a proper value system. Nobody wants to live a life of suffering. We have to stand up and try our best so that at least we can say that we tried. Of course, when we try, it is a trying period, but it will lead to joy, a great sense of fulfillment. It is immaterial whether others appreciate or applaud or not. We would have lived a life of right values. That is the most important thing. Values are never irrelevant, they are independent of time and space. Values are not for others alone, they are first for ourselves, then for others. Be afraid of consequences of your actions. Everybody has to renounce, but don't live a life of compromise. Make it one of sacrifice. The choice is yours. This is holistic management of yourself and thereby of others. Vision of management in Gita. What is our vision about our performance in life? Since each of us must live our own life, we must take full responsibility for every aspect of it. Life is not lived partially, so we should have total vision of life. Our perception of situations, actions, and reactions stem from our vision of life, which is called Jnanam in the Bhagavad Gita. Man gets tired of being told that he is not doing his best and that he should improve upon his performance. We hear the same from our superiors at home and every social or political organization with which we are associated. How do we ourselves perceive this problem? Can it? What is our vision? First, since each of us must live our own life, we must take full responsibility for every aspect of it. We should not blame anyone or complain about anything. We must own full responsibility for our thoughts, words, and deeds. Second, life is not lived partially, so a partial analysis of it is incomplete. Every person acts and reacts to different situations differently. Our perception of situations makes us respond in a particular way. These perceptions, actions, and reactions stem from our vision of life, which is turn, which in turn is formed due to past actions and thoughts, samskaras. This vision of life is called Jnanam. In the Bhagavad Gita, Jnanam is categorized in as sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic based on the three universal qualities gunas. Jnanam vision. Sattvic vision is the best vision. It is the ability to see unity in diversity and the common denominator of diverse names, forms, and qualities. A sattvic vision unites people, creating harmony in the society, country, and world. Identifying with another generates love, and a sattvic person serves everyone selflessly, spontaneously, and untiringly. Just as one lives in and through all the limbs of one's body, since one sees oneself in them, one always serves them. Just as Gandhiji united the diverse Indian masses with a vision, a common goal unites mankind. Similarly, when everyone works for an organization's progress, employees are inspired to put in their best with differences and personal gains ceasing to be of primary importance. Each understands his place in the overall scheme and works to fulfill his tasks with dedication and sincerity. A vision of the whole and one's relation to it are sattvic. This mature outlook allows us to perceive the importance of each part as well as the whole. Likewise, by not giving undue importance nor neglecting any aspect of life, one is always balanced, impartial, efficient, and effective. A Rajasic vision is the next best vision. Such a person perceives differences and perceives them to be the absolute reality. This vision creates groupism, quarrels, and disharmony in society. Since a Rajasic mind is filled with likes and dislikes and notions of mine versus others, one is more interested in the differences between Hindus and Muslims rather than the commonalities. This vision divides the society into haves and have nots, literate and illiterate, black and white, Christian, Muslim, and Hindu, Indian and American, and so on. For example, Rajasic people in the opposing political party are overjoyed with any mistake committed by the current government. One does not care if the country ultimately suffers. There is no vision of the whole as the various parts alone are given importance. A tamasic vision is the lowest vision as it mistakes a part for the whole. A part is given all importance and one becomes totally attached to it, losing sight of the other parts or the whole. One becomes fanatic, illogical, filled with blind belief, and unreasonable. The world has enough political and religious fanatics who believe that their limited concept of God alone is real. It solely saves or that their race is superior. Then one starts believing that money or power is everything in life. Then one can even ruin a country for the purpose of acquisition. An overdeveloped limb makes the body look disproportionate and unseemly. Such disproportionate attachment to any part breeds hatred, violence, and destruction, since a limited view of situations of life stunts growth, buddhi, analytical ability. Vision, jnanam, is that with which we view all situations. The ability to translate vision into action is called buddhi. It includes our evaluation to and reaction to various situations. The ability to understand a situation and apply one's knowledge to it is buddhi. It is also categorized into three types. Sattvic buddhi is the ability to analyze and understand a situation as it is, yathavat janati, objectively accept it and respond rightly. Such a person understands what to do, when, why, and how. One also understands that not to do, what not to do and why. One can discriminate between the means and ends, good and pleasant, right and wrong, bondage and liberation, true joy and sorrow. Rajasic Buddhi describes one who cannot analyze a situation currently and is therefore confused and vague in one's responses. Ayathavat janati. Some can never decide whether to marry or not, to become an engineer or a doctor, what is good for them or what they really want from life. They find it difficult to make decisions and act without swept away by external influences. Uh, Being swept away by external influences. Tamasic buddhi is when one understands the situation to be exactly opposite. Viparitam janati. Unfortunate are the patients whose healthy eye is operated or wrong foot is amputed due to incorrect evaluation. Tamasic buddhi is being convinced that falsehood alone wins. Might is right, and that to eat, drink, and be merry is the sole purpose of life. Tamasic people can misunderstand anything and act opposite to the clearest instructions as one is convinced that one is right. One may even claim to hear things that are never spoken. Interpretations include believing the Bhagavad Gita's message is to make war, that it reaches us that one can kill one's uncle or marry as many times as one wishes, like Shri Krishna. Problems in handling people. One should have the following abilities and dhruti. Dhruti fortitude. Equipped with jnanam and buddhi, man has to have dhruti fortitude, the ability to hold on, persist, and consistently apply oneself till the goal is reached. Dhruti too is of three types as below. Sattvic dhruti is the unwavering, unswerving fortitude with which one works for a noble cause with enthusiasm and dedication, despite obstacles. It is the fortitude that takes the mountaineer to the peak despite tired limbs. The perseverance with which an athlete strives to break one's own record, and the patience with which a mother deals with her cantankerous child. It is the ability to hold on to one's values at all times, even in the face of temptations and obstacles. Rajasic dhruti is the fortitude displayed for a while, in a part, place, or under particular circumstances to achieve particular goal and may dissolve under different circumstances or situations. A person may practice honesty in business but may be cheating on his own wife. A student may refrain from during indulgence during examinations, yet thereafter go on a pleasure spree, letting letting out pent up tension. Tamasic dhruti is the stubbornness with which one holds on to the false. One is attached to one's notions and cannot give them up even when proved false. Some people fall in love with their own depressions, sorrows, anxieties, ailments, laziness, and false values. They take great pride in maintaining them and defy anyone to remove them. I dare you to make me laugh or smile, said a hardened sorrow lover. Joy. One endowed with asattvic jnanam, buddhi, or dhruti can indeed achieve great success. The results of our attitudes and actions come to us as joys and sorrows. Joy, sukha too, is categorized three ways. Sattvic joy ends all sorrows, bring peace to the mind, is longer lasting, expresses as love and compassion, springs forth as spontaneity and cheerfulness, and is achieved through practice of right attitude, right values, and right actions. Rajasic joy is the joy of sense indulgence and quick results, which seems very attractive and thrilling in the beginning, but later brings pain, anxiety, tiredness, and boredom. It provides momentary entertainment and is captivating but weakens the senses, drains one's mental energies, and dulls the intellect. Tamasic joy gives anxiety and agitation before, during, and after enjoyment. Drugs, alcohol, gambling, and unethical business all result in addiction, tension, violence, and destruction. Tamasic joy is that of the lazy and lethargic, the cruel and criminal. These are the results of a tamasic vision coupled with tamasic buddhi and tamasic dhruti. Working with others. An important aspect of task performance is the ability to get the work done by others. The entire science of management is nothing but the management of people, as mechanical problems can be solved by technical knowledge, when while it is the human factor that causes the real problem. People are of two types, those who have problems and those who are problems. In handling people, one should have the following abilities and capacities. Empathy. One must have the ability to put oneself in the place of another. One must be able to understand the jnanam or buddhi of another, so that we understand why a person reacts in a particular manner. So, good salesman understands which person will respond to what type of talk. A good teacher should understand what it feels like to be a student listening to a teacher like oneself. Likewise, a good manager should understand how others feel with a boss like oneself. Teamwork. One should curb the tendency to boss over, throw one's weight around, brush aside others' ideas and thrust one's own opinion on others. This makes the other person resist and revolt. When one understands that all are needed for teamwork and that each one has a role to play, then there is a healthy give and take, sharing and caring, and harmony at work. In conclusion, just as we prepare for an examination, we need to prepare ourselves with a sattvic jnanam, buddhi, and dhruti and and capacity for sattvic joy, so that we can be confident of undertaking any task in life and achieve success. Total quality mind. The very first step towards sustained success and happiness is to understand our own mind. Bhagavan Krishna has, in the Bhagavad Gita, correctly described the mind as being our best friend and our own worst enemy. The trick is to understand the and befriend the mind. Once the mind is understood, it nourishes understanding and not problems. Discussions on management show that everything boils down to satisfaction and happiness. The success of management is and can be measured by the satisfaction of people working for it. A successful organization has to be necessarily geared to the satisfaction and happiness of the customer as well. In the US business world, customer satisfaction is given top priority. The customer is always right, no matter what. Let us examine the connotations of happiness and see what happiness means. Does the same object or event always give the same measure of happiness and satisfaction? No. People's expectations are always changing. Happiness being dependent on expectations. Consequently, the concept of happiness is also in a state of constant change. Given these parameters, how then are we to keep the customer happy? We have the example of the poor husband who, in order to please his wife, agrees with her. It doesn't work out or help the man because by the time he agrees, she changes her mind. From our experience, we know that it is very difficult to please everyone all the time, difficult to please everyone all the time. So let us try to see what success we can achieve in a given field. In an organization, the head or the leader must rise above limited views. He or she must carry in his or her mind the total vision, the complete panorama of things. If his idea of success is limited, then his success will also be limited. It is ultimately the vision of totality that the top man carries, which will determine the growth, development, and success of his enterprise. There is a shloka in Sanskrit which, when translated, tells us true knowledge gives us humility. Humility leads to higher qualifications, which leads to greater growth and, as a consequence, to greater power. More power can lead to corruption, but if one can remain equanimous in these circumstances, he experiences real peace. He is further blessed with greater humility and even greater growth. Every ruler or leader has some duties or responsibilities towards those working with him. A good leader must assume three basic responsibilities towards his employees. He must give them employment, he must give them security, they should feel secure, and he should teach them what dharma is, the significance of ethics, and the value of right moral values. It is the third aspect what is most important. If he cannot instill in them the right moral values and teach them the right way to live and work, then all the errors resulting from this omission will rest with him. Inspiration gained from the outside empirical world cannot give happiness. People must understand that joy is in the inspired action and not in the material gain. When happiness depends on the result, we postpone our experience of happiness to the future. There is a contradiction here. I want happiness in the present, but have, by depending on the result, delayed the experience of enjoyment for the future. The result that I look forward to with great anticipation in the future also does not remain with me. I often lose it and promptly return to square one. The secret of enjoying the very essence of life is that joy lies in the very performance of action. Action is always in the present, and so too is happiness. In other words, the happiness and joy which I constantly seek lie in my own hands. When workers are happy, they are more productive. If they are disgruntled, production figures fall. Workers work largely because of inspiration. Though the source of their inspiration may differ, the higher or greater the level of inspiration, the more will be the output of the workforce. When people discover joy in the very action, the quality of their performance changes. There is another aspect or secret formula for finding success and happiness. The individual's sustained interest can be achieved by dedicating the action to a noble ideal. With dedication, his quality of performance undergoes a radical change. When dedicated to a nobler and higher ideal, the inspired thinking produces a tangible difference, a finer and more refined performance. This point would be better illustrated by the story of Akbar and Tansen. Akbar was very pleased with Tansen's singing prowess and praised him greatly. Tansen humbly requested the emperor to listen to his guru, who he said was much better than him. Akbar was intrigued and, after listening to Tansen's guru's soul stirring rendering, wanted to know the reason for the difference in the quality of their singing. Tansen, with great candor, attributed the superiority of his guru's singing to the fact that his guru sang for the Lord while he sang only for the emperor. His guru's inspiration came from God, while Tansen sang to please the emperor. While performing an action, the motive is either to please somebody or to please ourselves. It goes without saying that the inspiration when working to please oneself is much greater. As a consequence, the inspired performance will yield a superior result. Knowledge leading to humility ensures success and power, which in turn leads to a spiraling effect of greater knowledge, more humility, and even greater success and power. Power has a negative aspect to it, for inherent in it is the potential of corrupting the individual who wields it. However, power has no control over the Bharata, mind of Bharata, who goes to Chitrakoot to beg Lord Ram to return and take his rightful place as the ruler of Ayodhya. He ruled for 14 years in the absence of his brother with single minded devotion and dedication to the memory of Ram. Power corrupts him who has not done satsang, who has not had any opportunity to serve the holy and wise. There is no way of corrupting the mind of one who has been in the company of holy men and has enjoyed the benefits of satsang. The quality of such a mind will depend on the strength of its power of dedication. He looks at life in its totality and success as a whole. He develops an insight into his own mind. This understanding leads him to the understanding of the others' minds as well. An atmosphere is thus created where, in a spirit of harmony, the vision can be communicated. Communicating of the vision can be a very difficult task. Try explaining this to anyone who does not understand. The very first step towards sustained success and happiness is to understand our own mind. If we understand our own mind, we will develop more patience and be able to create the right atmosphere. Bhagavan Krishna has in the Bhagavad Gita correctly described the mind as being our best friend or our own worst enemy. The trick to be the trick is to understand and befriend the mind. Once the mind is understood, it nourishes understanding and not problems. The secret of large profits. A gain is a gain only if it is not subject to any loss. That gain which comes today and is gone tomorrow cannot really be considered a gain. In Vedanta, we talk of the gain which is never lost. Value, Values are more important than valuables. Valuables come and go, but values remain. Let us think about our true identity. We function in many spheres and we have different personalities in different fields of our life. So, what is our concept of profit? We have to expand our idea of profit beyond just money and management courses. What business does a Swami have talking about large profits? This must be the question in your mind right now. Well, I don't do business, but I mean business. Running a worldwide organization with 200 mission centers in India and 50 centers in 25 countries abroad, looking after various ashrams, 72 schools, a hospital, and various social projects is not mean job. That too when all of it is of a voluntary nature. It requires all the talents and skills needed to run any industry or business. I am sure all of you appreciate this fact. Let me make it clear right at the outset that I am not going to give you any magic formula that will boost your profits instantaneously. You are all professionals who have studied business management, attended and conducted various seminars. You are all well aware of the scientific professional approach, the need for clear planning, efficient execution, resource management, time management, and crisis management, research and development of technology and human resources. For a business to succeed, you know that the product has to be good, the prices competitive, the publicity creative, the public relations far reaching, and so on. This is the professional approach. There is a different kind of approach, that is connections. The right connections in government circles and in high places. Once, when I was discussing the secret of success with a group of youngsters, a little girl piped in. The secret of success is bribery. Now I am going to talk neither about bribery nor about professional methods. Being a spiritual person, my approach to this topic will be different. Whenever we think of profits, it is always in terms of money or power, political or economic. Mostly it is money power. In doing this, we lose sight of the total perspective of life. Stress management, resource management, and so on are only particular aspects of one branch of life. These are of no avail unless we know how to manage our lives successfully. Even if we make large profits, they do not last forever. Share markets are volatile. People's tastes and fancies change. There are ups and downs in business. Today it is the IT field and software development that dominates the scene. Tomorrow it may be something else. The idea of profit also differs from person to person. The other day, a man told me, Swamiji, I lost 15 lakhs in my recent business deal. I was duly sympathetic. Later on, I came to know that he had actually made 25 lakhs in that deal. When I took him up on this point, he explained that he had expected 40 lakhs but he got only 25 lakhs and hence he had lost 15 lakhs. Let us think further. Are you only a businessman? Is that your only identity? We function in many spheres and we have different personalities in different fields of our life. So, what is our concept of profit? We have to expand our idea of profit beyond just money and management courses. There was this person who attended a time management course. At the end of it, he had a new problem to face. Earlier, the problem was that he had no time for anything. Now he had so much time, he did not know what to do with it. We are very good at creating problems for ourselves. Now we shall look at the Vedanta view or spiritual understanding of profit. By spirituality, I mean a total vision of life, not a partial one. You will agree that a gain is a gain only if it is not subject to any loss. That gain which comes today and is gone tomorrow cannot really be considered as a gain. Considered again. In Vedanta, we talk of the gain which is never lost. Secondly, whenever we gain anything in the world, we lose so many other things. If a person becomes rich, he loses the freedom of a poor man to sit under a tree in a park without being pestered for a donation towards some cause. Further, when we give undue importance to material things and use unscrupulous means to gain them, we lose our credibility, friends, family, love, and sympathy. By being aggressive, I may get profits, but I will lose friends. Truly speaking, can this be called profit at all? Slowly, we learn to expand our idea of profit. There was a time when success meant only earning more and more money, but a time came when it was understood that customer satisfaction was essential for lasting business. By taking shortcuts to easy money, credibility is lost. Then it was realized that the staff members and their welfare was important for the stability of the business. Further, their contribution to their locality, their city, the society, and the country became the vital measure of success. Lasting gain is not possible without good values. Values are more important than valuables. Valuables come and go, but values remain, and in the gain of values, nothing else is lost. The Bible also says, of what use is it to gain the whole world if you were to lose your soul thereby. So more and more money alone cannot be considered large profit. The amount of goodwill created, the happiness of the family, the benefits to the society, all these go into our concept of large profits. In fact, credibility will determine the success of the business. A goodwill increases, the business prospers. As goodwill increases, the business prospers. Profit is also measured by the amount of input. If the same action, the same amount of profit can produce greater results, we can call it larger profit. A good musician, when he sings for money, gets that much money and no more, even if the money be in lakhs. But the same performance dedicated to a noble cause gives him greater gain. His music is fulfilled in the joy of dedication. A noble cause is served and his fame spreads far and wide. If his music is dedicated to the upliftment of the art itself, his singing becomes its own reward. The higher the purpose, the finer the quality of performance or output, the greater the success. A person who jumps into the Ganga for a swim in the river gets only the pleasure of swimming, but he who thinks of it as a holy river which can wash away his sins and bathes in it purifies his mind also by his faith. In the same action, the same business, when the goal is higher, the very quality of the performance changes, the scope of profit changes, and there is upliftment of the person himself. People who work for high ideals, like even after their death, they then very name becoming a source of inspiration to others. What is true of an individual is true of a company or a whole nation. Thus, we can expand our understanding of the concept of large profits to include the well being of the entire society. By dedicating our actions to a higher goal, the rewards also become immeasurable. The quality of the performance becomes subtler and finer. An inner unfoldment of the personality takes place. Such profits are wholesome and lasting, involving no loss of any kind whatsoever, and create happiness for the individual and the society around him. Ancient Indian wisdom and modern management. In the science of management, what and who are the focal points? Who is going to work? Who wants technology? Who wants progress? The answer to all these questions is man. For anything to be achieved, a vision must first be established. Once that is done, the next step should be to find out how to mobilize resources towards fulfilling that vision. Joy lies in the very action. There should be a wish to produce one's best. As long as our happiness lies in the future, in the outcome of the action, there can be little happiness. Newspapers categorize nations as developed, developing, and underdeveloped or third world nations. A possible fourth category could be added: never can be developed nations. Development is generally measured for the standpoint of science, agriculture, industry, or military strength. The so called underdeveloped nations also have manpower, intelligence, and natural resources. The Lord has abundantly blessed every nation with something or other. The American countries are rich in natural resources, while the Arab nations have an abundant supply of oil. In India, we have our fair share of natural resources, material wealth, and intelligent people. What differentiates developed nations from underdeveloped nations is the lack of management or the underutilization of resources, which gives rise which to this discrepancy among many other factors. The success or development of a nation depends largely on the management of its resources. Take Singapore as a case study. Today it ranks among the developed countries. Yet, when it initially got its freedom, its ambition was merely to become like Calcutta, now Kolkata. To its people, Calcutta or Kolkata was the epitome of success, a role model to emulate. The people of Singapore were fortunate to have thrown up a leader with a vision who came up with a well defined plan of action. He formulated certain systems and saw to their proper implementation and administration. Today, Singapore is renowned for being perhaps the cleanest city in the world. The administration has very stringent laws governing cleanliness, among other things. Disobey those laws and you pay dearly for it. The government of Singapore knew that with its resources it could never stop to become a superpower. So the people wisely directed their efforts towards trade. Today they have carved a niche of their own. Singapore is one of the best trading centers in the world. Efficient management of the available resources is crucial to any economic or social development. The leader must have a clear and unclouded vision. He must know what he wants to achieve. 50 years after independence, we are still experimenting with education. Now it is 10 plus 2, sometimes ago it was 11 plus 1. We are still not clear about the direction to take in many areas. An important priority for any nation must be the security of its borders. We in India know what happens when not enough attention is paid to our borders. Clearly defined education and defense policies are thus of paramount importance for the growth of a nation. The vision of the nation must include the welfare of all. When making a law, the government must keep in mind the welfare of the poorest. It is their welfare that must come first. Unfortunately, what happens is quite the opposite. Powerful people make laws to suit themselves. Take prohibition, for instance, it was imposed to benefit the poorer sections of society. This resulted in a fall in revenues. To increase revenue to its original levels, the easiest method was to remove prohibition. In the US, there are some who actually favor legalizing drugs. They argue that people take drugs anyway, so why not legalize them? Some may want to legalize even crime since it happens every day. In some economies, we find a predominance of agricultural products. In others, industrial products are more abundantly available. With a complete understanding of the available resources, a plan of action needs to be formulated. The plan must harness and utilize all available resources. Proper systems of administration have to be installed to ensure efficient functioning. Proper administration is in companies will lead to greater efficiency, which in turn will bring forth better products and more sophisticated equipment. By the same token, if there are no proper systems, who will use these equipments? In the science of management, what and who are the focal point? Who is going to work? Who wants technology? Who wants progress? The answer to all these questions is man. The most of our government officers hardly any work is efficiently done. People specialize in being either forward or backward. Forward refers to sleeping with one's head on the table, and backward refers to sleeping leaning back. How long can anyone remain without work? In India, when people are not in a mood to work, what do? They strike. With such thinking patterns, how can you hope to succeed? In complete contrast, we have the example of Japan. When Japanese workers strike work, they do not stop work. They do not stop working. Their protests are confined to wearing black armbands. An Indian sannyasi, while visiting Japan, made some Japanese friends. One day he decided to visit one of his friends at work. When he went to the office, the man would not even speak to him. He later apologized for that. The sannyasi had unknowingly visited him during what the Japanese call national hours. With such work ethics, is it any wonder that Japan as a nation has progressed and prospered? I am told that every Suzuki plant worker has a sticker on his machine which reads personal best. Joy lies in the very action. There should be a wish to produce one's best. As long as our happiness lies in the future, in the outcome of the action, there can be little happiness. Look at the joy of little children. They find joy in each and everything they do. When they learn to talk, they find joy in talking. When they learn to walk, they find joy in walking. They know how to bring out their very best in every situation. Recent research has shown that we use only an infinitesimal percentage of our brain power. Even a genius uses only a little more than that. Why is this so? Probably because man can live without air for a few seconds, without water for a few days, without food for a few months, but he can live without thinking forever. We always want things. We rarely think of giving anything to others. Our country has known great glory. At the height of its glory, India was known as the Golden Sparrow. Over the centuries, she has been looted and flogged without mercy. All our finest treasures were carried away. The Kohinoor diamond, which had been one of our most valued treasures, now adorns the British crown. For a nation to be so renowned, the administration and the management systems must have been very superior. So many races have repeatedly tried to destroy this nation. Undoubtedly, there must have been some wisdom that kept us going. Let us learn from everywhere and from everybody in the world, but not at the expense of the Indian ethos. not at the expense of our own philosophy. Today, people talk of various kinds of management: time management, emotion management, stress management. A wealth of knowledge in these areas lies in our ancient scriptures. Keep an open mind, learn from civilizations, study your own earlier wisdom, and achieve great success for yourself and for your nation. What happens when prosperity comes to a man? He begins to relax and soon becomes lax. Soon he becomes lax. When something comes easy, man does not value it enough. People have started thinking that leadership will surface on its own. Nobody wants to make an effort to do anything about it. Culture flows from top to bottom. This is a natural process. In a democracy, we elect our leaders. The government is only a reflection of the electorate. Today, if we ask politicians why they are doing what they are doing, they will most likely retort that it is we who have allowed them to do what they are doing and that we did not give them votes. They bought the votes. The very basis of democracy is that every individual is valued. We are all endowed with intelligence and dignity. It is surely our fault that we do not use it. Why do we not realize that our interest lies in the collective interest? Today, there is just not enough thinking about being done. The focus is not on finding solutions. Other trivial issues gain more importance. Even in important forums, meetings are preceded by and end with eating. The tea, coffee, and snacks are the vital ingredients of the meeting. Even in the parliament, which represents the highest in decision making in this land, there is little constructive thinking going on. The scriptures tell us that a life of ignorance has its basis in lack of thinking. Let us think for a while. How do we celebrate Independence Day? Or, for that matter, how do we celebrate any national event? Speeches are made, the speakers are garlanded, and the event is over. Is this all we can think of doing for commemorate our independence? On our independence today, we should spend some time thinking about how our freedom was won and the sacrifices made to achieve it. Dwell on that and learn from the lives of great men. Think about these aspects and find a national purpose. The means will follow. Now let us see what religion does for people. It teaches them to be satisfied with their lives. It awakens in them a desire to do something for the society. It inspires them to serve others. The individuals realize that he or she cannot live in isolation and that society is not different from the individual. To benefit society, first learn to explore your own potential. Gain more proficiency in your particular field and begin to work efficiently. When you thus begin to work, your chances of being successful are high. First, learn for yourself and work for yourself. A time will come when you will begin to think of others as well. As one evolves more, the welfare of all becomes the predominant goal in one's life. Joy lies in the action, not in the outcome. Happiness should not be dependent on the result. Unfortunately, our minds are obsessed with the results. We thus forego the joy of the present. This does not mean that you cannot plan for the future. You can and must plan for the future, but discover joy in the present. Let your mind be free to find the joy of living today. Then success in any field will be yours for the asking. Overcoming stress. In modern life, we see that there is much material progress and comfort. At the same time, humanity experiences great stress and strain. There is comfort, but there is also stress. When there is stress, comfort is not comfort at all. Stress can be created by expectations, desires, and ambition should inspire us to work. But if too strong, they cause only perspiration, not inspiration. In modern life, we see that there is much material progress and comfort. At the same time, humanity experiences great stress and strain. There is comfort, but there is also stress. When there is stress, comfort is not comfort at all. We generally hear that there is too much stress, strain, and tension in our day to day life. In business life, we have cutthroat competition. There may be strain within the family or in social relationships. Within ourselves, we may find disintegration. This stress and strain is experienced by us as anxiety, worry, fear, and frustration. How do we overcome these various stresses? Some people try smoking or drinking, others seek change or vacation. Thus, we adopt various temporary escapes from tension. Some of these are tamasic inactive, such as drinking, or rajasic active, such as the pleasure trips. Some may be sattvic serene, such as attending a spiritual retreat. That can also be an escape if we do not make right use of it. How do we know whether it is an escape? If after the retreat we are afraid of facing life's challenges again, it was only an escape, a diversion, which did not solve our problem. When we gain a new vision at the retreat, we should become more dynamic and fearless, ready to face all challenges. Two kinds of stress. A certain kind of stress is normal, physical. Therefore, I will call this objective stress. This is perceived when we face a challenging situation. A lot of work must be accomplished in a short period of time. If we have a tight schedule of engagements, though we may be efficient, because the time is limited, we feel stress. In those situations, we have to keep cool and not get overexcited. We figure out how our work can be accomplished in a short time. This is called the science of time management. If I have to write 10 letters in a short time, I should write only a few lines for each letter. We see how maximum work can be accomplished in the shortest time. One method for overcoming stress is the objective stress field is to in the objective field is to become more disciplined and organized. The discipline of getting up early can help make our lives smoother. When we hurry, we try to do things quickly and often make mistakes. But with planning and discipline, we can act with greater efficiency and less strain. Another kind of stress is subjective stress. In the outer world, there are only situations. In the physical world, there is no stress, no tension. The strain that we feel, which is so exhausting, is not because of the outer situation, but because of our inner reaction to the situation. When does the outer situation becomes a problem or threat? Worry and anxiety arise from our inability to face a particular situation and to deal with it effectively. This is the stress that we feel in many forms and we try to relieve in many ways. Anxiety comes when we are unprepared. If a situation has studied well, is the examination a problem for him? If the students has studied well, is the examination a problem for him? No, because he is well prepared. If a student who has studied well goes to the examination and is still anxious, there may be other reasons like personal ambition or high expectations from his parents which make him think, I must do really well. I must get an A grade. The stress and anxiety he experiences comes from an insistence upon a particular fruit of action. This and this alone should happen. Thus, expectation, ambition, or desire, instead of being a motivating force, can become a dissipating factor. Stress can be created by expectations. Desire and ambition should inspire us to work, but if too strong, they cause only perspiration, not inspiration. When there is insecurity in a job or emotional insecurity, strained relationships within the family, or any type of insecurity, there is always stress. All the time there is fear. The only certain thing about the world is that everything is uncertain. Accepting the fact that nothing is certain, that all is unstable, itself relieves tension and stress. The most effective method of avoiding subjective stress is to have faith. Call it faith, devotion, or surrender. Faith in is the clear understanding that the Lord is taking care of us. Is He not running everything and still we worry? That is why in Bhajagovindam it is said, O fool, why worry? Is there not for you the one who ordains, rules, and commands? When we travel by when we travel by plane, the plane flies. We only eat and sleep. We know that the pilot is taking care of us. We have faith in him. When we are seasoned travelers, we are not afraid of anything. We are relaxed. We should have the same attitude in the voyage of life. Remembering Lord Krishna's promise, rest assured, remember me. I will take care of you. Those who remember me with single pointed attention, I take care of them. I take care of their entire lives. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Om Shri Chinmaya Sadguru Namaha.